Beutepanzers are truly a sight to behold. There is nothing stranger than seeing a group of smiling Germans riding on top of a
Balkenkreuz
emblazoned vehicle which isn't of their own making. Now, of course, the most common of these trophy tanks was the T-34. The Germans captured tons of them, especially in the early days on the Eastern Front when most Soviet tank crews had only preschool-level training in operating their vehicles. By 1943, the Germans had a massive amount of these things in service. Though most were merely basic repair jobs to create a working vehicle, some of these tanks would actually receive upgrades by their new crews. Many can be seen with new cupolas, stowage bins, Nordic night lamps, and some even receiving German tank tracks. Now, despite this all sounding great, there were actually two large problems that were observed with all of these captive T-34s. For one, a lack of spare parts, and two, the, suboptimal build quality of the modifications done by the crews. Well, it was decided in the summer of 1943 that a solution had to be found to the problem. That solution? Germanify the T-34. That's on today's Weapons-Grade Stupidity. Now, I know you're probably already asking yourself, what is weapons-grade stupidity? Well, this is a new series that I will hopefully try to stay committed to on my channel, which was proposed by you, the viewers, where we will hyper-focus on a military proposal or project that was so horrendous it truly fries the mind. These videos will tend to be shorter, as I don't want to bore you people with 30 minutes of me rambling about something that could be covered in 5 minutes. So anyway, to avoid said rambling, let's get right into the video. So on July 30th, 1943, the guidelines for Germanifying the T-34 were proposed by the
Oberkommando des Heeres,
which was to bring all of the captive T-34s together so that a mass standardization effort could be carried out. The primary objective of this program was to supplant all current French vehicles in service on the Eastern Front with the T-34, equipping anti-partisan units and converting many non-armored units to armored units to strengthen the overall front. Well, almost immediately a problem was recognized, which is that many German armored units were already running quite thin. So trying to convince these units to hand over their T-34s, which could potentially be redirected for rearguard duty, would be quite an undertaking. Well, a solution was found. To help encourage these reluctant units, bribes would be offered, in the form of either new equipment or even alcohol. Now, despite this plan being in place to help relieve some of the stress, 3 massive problems would doom this entire project. The first being the lack of enough recovery units to fetch the damaged vehicles to build up a sufficient spare parts inventory. The second was the amount of T-34s currently in German service was already deemed insufficient to meet demand. And the third issue was that most units, even with bribes being offered, likely would not hand over their tanks as the replacement rate of their own vehicles was far too low. Now, unfortunately, we do not have any documentation that concretely says whatever happened to this program, but it's very clear that if it was initiated, it had no impact on the outcome of the Eastern Front. The only known vehicle that is almost certainly linked to this program is a sole prototype that was completed either by Daimler-Benz or WUMAG sometime in 1943, using a T-34 model 1941. This vehicle was to be the pinnacle of the Beutepanzers, adding all of a German tank crew's needed comforts while trying to remove as many drawbacks as possible from the original Soviet design, all being done to German factory production standards, no less. The changes that were to be made to the vehicle was the introduction of a new commander's cupola to increase situational awareness, the introduction of a separate loader's hatch on the turret roof, the addition of standard German tank jacks, new external stowage bins, the installation of a German radio set and antenna, new mudguards complete with Nordic night lamp and rear convoy lights, and a complete repaint into a standard German multicolor camouflage pattern. Weirdly, despite this project being carried out in 1943, Schertzens and turret-mounted stowage bins were oddly not considered, which is bizarre considering that we have pictures from 1943 of T-34s with field-improvised turret stowage bins, and 1944 with field-improvised Schertzens. Now, of course, what most people would focus on as being the big change would be the introduction of the new cupola, but I would actually like to focus on that new loader's hatch that was mentioned. The original large one-piece hatch seen on the early T-34s was frankly atrocious. It weighed far, far, far too much to be opened easily in a desperate situation like bailing out of a burning vehicle, So in order to create a semi-fix for the problem, the cumbersome one-piece hatch was removed and replaced with a simple piece of sheet metal, which had a small cutout for the escape hatch. If we look at this more closely, this fix doesn't really fix much, as the incredibly narrow width of the hatch would probably make it a chore to get in the vehicle even if you were in perfect health. Now imagine trying to get out of it while you're wounded and people are shooting at you. I also do want to point out a little funny detail, which is that in true German fashion, they have thought up a fix for the hatch swinging open too far, and they've added a little stop welded onto the side of the turret. Now, if you were listening really closely earlier, you probably heard me say, German factory production standards. Well, the conversion work on these vehicles was so extensive that it would not have been possible in the field, and vehicles that were to be converted into this type would have to either be sent to occupied factories or all the way back to Germany for the work to be carried out. Considering the wartime situation, even in 1943, this would have been nothing other than a total nightmare, which only could have made the logistical situation even worse, while contributing almost nothing of tactical value in the end. For once, cooler heads prevailed in the German army, and the correct decision was made to simply run what you got while you got it. Well, that's this video. I hope you enjoyed it, despite its incredibly short runtime. By the way, I apologize for the jump scare earlier with the mythical dragon of Germanic correction. That guy right there is the lazy German guy. Yes, that is his name. And he is trying to help me, I don't know, not irritate a major European country every time I try to pronounce a German word. So, yeah. Hope you didn't get too spooked by that. By the way, if you would also like to be another individual who would like to correct me on my pronunciation of foreign words, then feel free to reach out to me on Discord or something and lecture me for 3 hours about how I pronounced a 5-letter word wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna just, I don't know, dematerialize right now or something, so, bye, I guess?
No, you maniac! What are you doing? Only a fool would play God!